I was surprised about the lack of trust towards members of the medical community. Like, I don't know if my providers are going to tell me what's going on. I don't know if they're going to be available to me. I don't know if they're going to, if I'm even going to be able to access this treatment. And I feel like that speaks a lot to the kind of environment in this country right now with access to healthcare. And it's sad to think that we can be, on one part, really excited about care and also really distrustful of who's going to access it, even if we had one.
Did everybody hear her? No. So she was talking about, she was surprised by the amount of distrust towards the medical community, towards healthcare access, towards people really, being there for the people who are participating in the research. So that really well captured.
Well, yeah, and just that it's sad that that people have so much distrust toward their ability to access care that it's hard to even get excited about a cure if you don't know if you would have access to it.
Okay, so people, that it's sad that people, are concerned about being able to have access and that they can't even get excited about the idea because of the concerns around access.
I was just to say, kind of to piggyback on what you said in the front, I'm actually glad that people voiced that. I was kind of surprised, but I was glad that they voiced that because, especially speaking as a person of color, there's always been distrust in our community of the medical field. We have been the guinea pigs, straight up, in this country. Tuskegee is a big example. Henrietta Lacks and stuff. People have always come to people of color and taken our cells, our bodies, and done with whatever they wanted to do. So, yeah, that distrust is still there. And it's up to the folks who are doing the research to really work on that perception still, get that across that we're not going to get hurt. Because too often, people of color are getting hurt in these kinds of studies or have been hurt. And whether it's not happening or not, whether things are cleaned up, we have long memories. And this has not been a wonderful place to be for many of us. Regardless of how laws have changed or how people feel like laws have changed, there's still a lot of messed up stuff. Racism, unfortunately, has been a part of the medical profession, and we've been affected by it. So, I'm glad that people are voicing those kinds of opinions because they need to be heard and they need to be addressed, I think, before anything gets signed. Because the problem that's happening with a lot of these studies, whether we're talking about HIV, cancer, or anything else, is that I constantly hear we don't have enough Black people, we don't have enough Latinos, we don't have enough Native Americans, we don't have enough Asians. And people wonder why. Well, this is why. Because we're scared. And so there really needs to be concerted effort for people who are researching, particularly when you do not look like the clients, to make sure that we feel safe, or you will never have us in there. And then when the cure does come out, the first things we're going to say is, we're going to be crying about racism and unequal access. Well, why? Because we weren't part of the studies, but we weren't part of the studies because we never were invited to be part of the studies because people didn't make the attempts to make us feel safe. So I'm really glad that that was raised because it's not that we're not excited about it, it's that we're afraid. Because nobody wants to be the next Henrietta Lacks. I don't care how many people she's helped. She didn't get helped. She's dead.
Right.
That's
And
it.
that's really, and you saw it came up, right? People don't want to be guinea pigs and don't want to feel like guinea pigs. And there is a whole legacy of distrust and unethical research, which has preceded us that needs to be overcome. And the other reality is that if people don't participate and you are different genetically or you have a different reaction, and how do we learn that? How do we learn that, oh, well, this worked for white men, but it didn't work for anybody else? Or, it was after we had ARVs approved that we learned that, I think, is it efavirenz, where you have to cover the tail? That in Black people in particular, that when you took people off a particular ARV, you needed to make sure that you still had something else going on for a period of weeks, because otherwise the medication lasted longer in their bodies, and there was a danger of them developing resistance if you didn't do that. And if you don't have a study with enough people of different types to power it is when you're able to say, oh, there's enough people here statistically to see if there's a real difference between groups, right? So we might say, well, we want more women. So, oh, we've got 20 women, isn't that great? Well, we don't know if 20 women is great. We need enough women to be able to say, oh, women responded the same or differently than the men did. Black people responded the same or differently as white people to the treatment. So you need the diversity in order to be able to answer the questions, because we're all mad, right? Well, they only studied that heart medication in, white men, so we don't know if it works for us. But if people don't participate, you can't look at it. And we have a responsibility as a research community to make it safe. So if people have suggestions, other than the ones here, for how do we make it safer for people of color to feel comfortable stepping up and being part of the research, that's really important for researchers to hear and to honor.